Welcome to Rick's Corner. I've got Al Snow back, former WWE superstar, wrestler, bodybuilder, entrepreneur, and man about town, and the guy that I want to be when I grow up.
I'm trying to be you. I'm trying to be you, Rick.
I'm trying to be me. It's hard. I got a birthday next month. I can't believe it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Where do the years go?
It's tough being Rick. It's tough being Rick Drasin. Let me tell you.
It's 72. It is.
Yeah.
I know, right? So I've been looking at some of your posts and some of your pictures lately. Man, you've gotten in good shape.
Well, thank you. I'm really trying.
I know you are. I mean, it's obvious. I sent a picture of you to my son who's in Tennessee, and he knows you from wrestling and all that. He says, "Man, what's he doing?" I said, he's just training hard and dieting, and it's just all coming together, right?
Yeah, it all changed a few years ago. I started training like the old strongmen did and the old wrestlers back in, like, when I mean old, I mean like back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And
you know people from back then?
Yeah, actually I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember we used to hang out with them?
Yeah, of course. They used wagon wheels for weights back then. So what kind of training are you talking about?
Everything's more functional. Not so, I stopped. I did every type of bodybuilding type of workout, but then I realized I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm a wrestler. So I started doing everything was functional, all compound movements. Yeah. A lot of body weight. Really surprisingly, incorporate a lot of body weight training and stuff now.
Like, I mean, your own body weight against yourself.
Yeah, I haven't done any bench press. If I do any type of bench press at all, it's only with dumbbells, or I'll do it off the floor. More push-ups, different types of push-ups and things like that.
Yeah, dumbbell presses. I've always been a good bench presser, but they didn't do anything for me. But the dumbbells did, because you can get deeper into the movement. And then I had some little stands, like little tripod stands that you could do dips in between, or push-ups.
Yeah.
So I would superset the dumbbell presses with the dips, with the push-ups. Man, I got a pump and a half. So I like trying stuff like that. But you know yourself, as you get older, and from wrestling and bodybuilding, injuries occur in the joints, and sometimes you just can't do stuff. Or maybe you're afraid to. I'll lay in bed at night and say, well, tomorrow I'm going to hit a good workout. I'll get the 80-pound dumbbells. I'll walk in the gym and I look at the hammer machine and say, I think I'll do that. I've been there. And the principle is, if your mind is basically on what you're doing, let's just say you're on a hammer and you close your eyes and you're feeling dumbbells on that machine, it's as if you're using dumbbells because your mind is telling you that you are.
True, it's that mind-muscle connection.
Absolutely. And as far as... go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Even if you go back and you read up some of the philosophy of some of those old time strongmen, Louis Cyr and Sandow and those guys like that, they talk about that mind-muscle connection even back then.
There's no question about it. How many? Do you go to a gym or do you have your own stuff?
I used to have my own stuff, but it just became very difficult. I moved around a couple times the last few years, so it just became so hard. So I try to find a good gym that has some actual functional equipment, not just the bodybuilding type of equipment, but also functional equipment. Yeah,
the thing, if you look around the gym, and I'm a real observer, and you see people, these younger guys using these heavy weights with very little movement, and I think it's not going to work. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. You got to get a complete movement. But the diet's a huge part too, right? Absolutely. And you've got, I've found too that you've got to find the right diet that works for you. Exactly. Not every diet, some people, they all subscribe to no carbs, but I've found that if I eat just a few and, here and there, I actually do a lot better overall than I do if I don't eat any at all. Because your body's starving for them. And you do have to have a certain amount. Like today I had lunch. There's the restaurant I like. I have them make me a tuna omelet. The tuna's cold around the egg. The egg really has no taste. It's almost like bread, but it's protein. And then I have cottage cheese with it. And then I had a slight piece of cornbread with it with a little honey butter for the carbs. Yeah. Well, that's a good lunch. I mean, I got all my protein I need and little carbs. Being sick the past couple of weeks, my appetite hasn't been great, so I dropped down to 210, which I think is light for me. And then my kids say, oh, no, you look so lean and you look so much harder. Well, maybe I do, but in my head, 220 is better, But then maybe it's not. Maybe as you get older, you don't need that weight,
I think that's the case. I would rather, I struggle between 220 and 230, and I would much rather be around 220 than I would around 230.
You see a big difference?
I think I look, when I'm 220, people say that I actually look bigger and simply because I'm a little leaner, so I'm a little more defined.
No question.
Than when I'm 230,
Yeah, there's no question. You see a bulky person in a t-shirt or a shirt, for example, at 230, and they take the shirt off and they look terrible. And you see them down about 220, and they take the shirt off and they look like really muscular because the body fat's gone.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard for people to get that in their head. The minute they go and they look at the scale, I look at the scale too, because last year when I had pneumonia, I shot up to about 235. And I was so full of fluid, my feet looked like elephant's feet. I mean, I couldn't even get shoes on. So my cardiologist says, check your weight every day. If you go up 4, 5, 6 pounds, check your feet, because if you're gaining water in there, it might be going in your lungs again. So I'm really observant of it. And we all carry some sort of water. It's just what our body's made of. But I've been pretty good about watching it. But when you say I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm a wrestler, basically they're one and the same because, and you know this because you know more than I do because you're a lot smarter than me. You've been around long.
No, I don't know about that.
well, wrestling is wrestling, but wrestling's selling flesh.
Yes.
So when you go in the ring as a bodybuilder and you have that flesh, like a lot of guys did back in the 80s and even now, I mean, the guys are in shape. People want to see somebody in shape, and they're training like bodybuilders. I agree. Yeah, I was wrestling at the Olympic with the guys, and Arnold's training for the Olympia, and I'm training like a bodybuilder, which I enjoyed because when I went in the ring, and if you and your abs come out, Arnold used to always say, when you're on stage posing, always cough, it brings your abs out.
Yeah.
So people see that and they go, oh, look at that guy, and it does draw attention to you because you can't flex fat.
Wrestling's very much a cosmetic business.
It is.
And just for me, now that I've taken on more functionality and stuff like that, it's helped me lean out more.
Yes.
Where when I would really try to do more concentrated movements and more sculpting, it just didn't seem to work as effectively for me as it does. Like people subscribe to the belief that you train legs like one day a week really super hard and maybe a light day in there. I pretty much use them almost every day to some degree or another. Like one day I'll do heavy squats at least one day a week. I'll do deadlifts, heavy deadlifts a couple days later. But in between I'll do free squats out the butt, And then I'll do kettlebells. Huh?
You do free squats out the butt?
Yeah, out the butt, man. Out the butt.
Well, since I got my new knee, I'm telling you, this thing is strong. It's like I'm 15 years old. Yeah, I've had no pain since day one, and I'm back doing leg extensions like 140. Before I couldn't even do 10 pounds. I couldn't even do anything with that leg. And I went up my girlfriend's stairs to her office the other night, and I haven't been up there in 2 years because I couldn't walk the stairs. And she said, "Oh my God, you came up to my office." I said, "Did you hear me?" She says, "I heard somebody coming up real fast." I said, "That was me. It was one foot after another." That stupid little accomplishment made my whole night because I could do the stairs.
Yeah.
I haven't tried squatting, but I'm sure I can. I'm sure I can. If not nothing, but even on the Smith machine, you just have some support. But legs are.
I think people don't. I think people take for granted or assume. Especially even the slightest debilitation to your knees or your legs or your feet.
Yeah.
It affects your whole body and it affects your whole mindset too. I mean, nothing makes you feel, I guess, more broken down, even though you may not actually be, but just like when I have trouble with my knees and things get stiff or tight.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a small accomplishment to go up the stairs, but that really is a major thing. When you've spent not just a year, but a couple of years or several years for, where you're walking around and it doesn't just work 100%.
No, we went to Hawaii and I couldn't do a lot of things. And she's a real runner and I couldn't go here and I couldn't go there. My knees were hurting. Now I can and I feel good about it because it does knock you down. And then now with the new knee, I gained an inch in height, which is kind of weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. But my back has to readjust because it's so used to limping and being bent. For the first month or two, I still had backaches, but my doctor said, "Nah, it's just your knee. You'll be fine." And I'm fine now. It's okay now.
Yeah, it takes your body time because it's adapted to that type of carriage.
It is.
So much that now it has to take time to readjust and, readapt to another, to what's normal.
To what's normal, yeah, a new normal. And when I came in the back door and I'm an inch taller, I said to her, oh my God, I can see dust on top of the refrigerator. I never saw before. Are you still wrestling too?
I still wrestle. In fact, I just got back from Chile. In Santiago. I went over this past weekend. Took me 4 flights to get there and 3 flights to get home. So
my God.
I wanted to put a bullet in my brain.
No question. What was the weather like?
It's the start of their winter. Like it was like the back end of their fall. Yeah. So it was starting to get cold, but it's like if you've ever been over in England, like it's an English cold where it gets in your bones, you know. Maybe 40 degrees, but it's such a damp 40 degrees that it's
the word chilly, you always
miserable.
think of it being cold, but normally you think it's hot. So it's like...
Yeah.
How many nights a week were you working?
I'm sorry?
How many nights a week were you in the ring?
I just worked the Saturday night. I because of the weather and issues with all that, I literally landed, walked right off the plane, made it to the building, walked right in the building, and right in the ring. I mean, quite honestly, right in the ring. Yeah. And wrestled. That was it.
That's good. Well, the flights, that's the only thing I don't like about going somewhere. It's sitting on the plane for long periods of time. And it just, I can do it. She sleeps like all the way, my girl. Hi.
My fiance saying hi.
Hello. I'm Rick.
That's it. That's Rick, and that's Jessica. Jessica is she's a competitive bodybuilder as well.
Oh, wow. That's nice. I'm glad to hear that, too. I went to school with Al. He was a bit ahead of me.
Yeah, he went to school with me, and I'm a bit ahead of him in school. So a little older than Rick.
Yeah. I don't know about if I'd ever get back in the ring again after all my injuries, because I've got a torn tricep. My shoulders kill me, but I started taking turmeric. Have you ever taken turmeric?
Oh, yeah. I take it every day.
What do you think about it?
I haven't seen any major reduction in inflammation, but I do think it does help. I really do.
My pharmacist gave me a pharmaceutical-grade turmeric. She ordered it in for me. She says, take this. This stuff's really good. It wasn't cheap, but it really messes with my stomach, so I have to do it like every other day. Do you have that problem?
Yeah, sometimes if I take it, some mornings, because I'll take it in the morning, I'll take it at night, and in the morning sometimes it'll hit me kind of hard.
Yeah, my cardiologist says it's really good for you, so I'm staying on it. And I'm still training like 6-7 days a week. It's kind of crazy.
Are you really? You're a machine.
No, you know what it is, honestly? I get up in the morning and I have breakfast, and the gym is my office, so to speak. I've been doing it for 50, 60 years, So I go and meet people, I find people for my show, I get a good workout, it inspires me, I motivate others, and then I go have my coffee and lunch and come home and do this. So it's getting you out of the house, because if you get up and sit in the house and just sit in the house,
you rust.
You rust. No question. Yeah. Even my mom at 96 did the same thing.
Yeah. I honestly, I compare the human body to a car. I mean, a car, they build them to move. If you park it somewhere and you don't drive it, it sits and rots.
I have friends that grew up like that. They stay home all day and just sit in the big bellies, and they can't.
And the same happens.
So tell me about your school in England.
It's going great. I opened up the academy in England and in London, and I have Doug Williams, he's a veteran of about 25 years over there in England. And the most important thing, Rick, and you'll understand, he's got 25 years of doing it for a living. Right. Paying his bills, which completely different mindset. When you have to do something to make a living, it's a completely different mindset. Of course it is. It's a career. Yeah, and I have James Mason. He's about a 20-year veteran. Same thing. They do a lot of the training for me over there. But the cool thing is I'm developing a network of affiliate schools. I have one in Cheshire and one in the Midlands in UK. But I also have one in Portugal now, one in Greece, one in Romania, one in Denmark. I had no idea. And just now got one in Chile as well. So my goal, my hope is to build a network of these affiliate schools where they all philosophically teach the same thing, but everybody, of course, will have their own style, their own technique, much like the territories used to be in wrestling.
Right.
And if, the guys in Chile, they get a wrestler that's, that is developed to a certain point and he's not going any further, he's kind of plateaued, they can contact somebody in, say, Greece and, hey, can we do can this guy come over and spend a couple months, wrestle on your shows, attend your school? Yeah, sure, send him over. He goes to Greece. A guy from Denmark goes to Chile. A guy from England goes to Portugal. A guy from Portugal goes to Germany. And they can start to, develop and get more polish and more seasoning. And if they get an opportunity, let's say with WWE, they're more well-rounded and they're more ready to take advantage of that opportunity, which that's priceless. I mean, the last thing you want to do is get an opportunity on that kind of a stage and then not be able to take advantage of it.
The thing is, it's like a franchise, right?
Yes, similar. I mean, it's basically I pick the trainers. I come in, work with the trainers every 3 or 4 months. I come in and work with the students and evaluate them, and then pass them up to the next level.
That's a huge undertaking. Do you have to go out and find the buildings and put the rings and do all the legwork? Or you have somebody doing that?
They do that themselves in each respective place.
Now, another question I have, since you said this. Now, okay, these guys are getting seasoned. They're going here, there, and everywhere. And let's just say they get a chance at WWE. Are they going to try to undo everything they learn and do it their way?
I don't know. I mean,
it happens, right?
It does happen, with certain talents. But the thing that I try to always, and I don't need to tell you because you understand it better than anybody. But once they step in the ring, I always explain to every talent. Once you step in the ring, it's your responsibility.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what anybody tells you before or after or. Once you step in, there's nothing they can do to help you, and there's nothing they can do to hinder you.
Right.
And it's up to you to be the one to perform. And even Vince, I mean, people say what they want about Vince McMahon. Vince himself will, he'll try to produce you, direct you maybe to a degree, but he'll let you go be you. And a lot of guys are too scared now, Rick, I think.
They're worried about it.
And I think the reason why, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the downfall of professional wrestling is the guarantee, even if it's a downside guarantee of a certain. This is going to give me a lot of controversy and a lot of heat, I'm sure. But the wrestlers getting a downside guarantee of any type creates the mindset, even if it's subconscious, that it's now a job.
Right.
When it's never a job.
No.
It's always an opportunity, and that downside, any type of guarantee creates that mindset that it's a job, and then now they have something to lose, so they don't take risks as performers as much per se.
Right.
The motivation to grab the ball and run to run to touchdown is not the same as
they lose their
it is if they
individuality
don't have
that way.
it.
Back in the days when it was territories here and you worked shows, you were pretty much on your own to do what you wanted in the ring. No one really stood over you. You got little corrections with the old school guys afterwards in the locker room, but after that you were fine. And I think that I talked to a lot of young guys today who have degrees in college and they want to pursue this, but then that's not really what they want. And I have, in particular, one out here that's part of my family, and he saw a kid working as a waiter at a deli and working as a bartender. He's got a degree in finance and he was a financial counselor. He says, "Why don't you do that?" He says, "I hated it. I'd rather work here in the deli and work as a bartender and have the cash and have my free time to pursue my dreams." And that's what it's all about. And some people just don't want to take that chance to outside the box to show off their skills so they can pursue their dreams and have a career doing something. And it's difficult. Right. And as well as me, as you get older and maybe you're not in the ring anymore and you can't do much, you better have something else to fall back on. Something. Yeah. Something, some sort of a skill or a plan. I've had a plan since I was 18 years old. My father died. So I'm going to do this. My mom backed me up and I was going to do that. And I had that going and this going. And now it's 73 next month. I've got more going now than I've had my entire life and 7 incomes. So I just kind of planned it that way, and I'd love to see young people do the same thing.
Yeah, I always try to give that advice. You know, even especially these days with the way that the style is and everything, it's so easy to get not hurt but truly injured to where they can't perform anymore.
Yes.
And you know, you need that backup, especially in wrestling. In wrestling, you're almost 98% guaranteed that you're gonna, you know, fail. You're not, you know, meaning fail by not, you're not going to reach the point of like WWE or something.
What do you tell these younger guys? I get a lot of phone calls saying, I want to be a superstar at like 15, 14 years old. I've got my finishing move. I've got my music and my outfit. And God love them. I mean, they want to be cartoon heroes, you know. And you got to have a goal. You got to have a passion. You have to have a hero. But in reality, you got to also understand your parents are going to pay for you to come here to be a wrestler. They want you to go to school and be something professional, right?
Right, absolutely.
It's not easy, you know. You try to convince them, and it's not easy to do. They don't want to hear that.
No, they don't.
They see it on TV, it's going to be easy, but it's not easy.
But I tell them all the same. You know, one, make sure you really want to do this. Have a passion for it, because if I'm sure you as well have seen how many guys that have had every tool, the size, the strength, the look, the charisma, the ability to speak, but they didn't have the passion, so they amounted to nothing. You know, they didn't. You know, they were a flash in the pan, if that.
Yeah.
And you know, they went by the wayside.
I've had several guys go to WWE and do that, and they're there for trials, and then they don't want them, and then they say, okay, now what? Maybe you better find something else. You know, it's not like it used to be. When here in LA, and you had the Olympic Auditorium, you had 6 towns. I got in with Blassie and some of those guys. I was a young kid, well built, and so they liked to use me on the card. You know, I paid my dues for a couple of years doing jobs and all that. That's okay. At least I was making some cash money. I was playing in a band, and I was getting commercials and films in the meantime, and unemployment in between that. So I just kind of rotated it, and it worked into what I wanted to do. Not everybody figured that out. And then I had 2 ex-wives that said, you had life too easy. You didn't have to do it. I did everything. It wasn't that easy. Why? Because I laid on the beach? We all did.
You still had to hustle.
I'm still hustling. I'm still hustling nowadays. I'm still doing what I got to do, but I enjoy what I do. And when you have a passion for what you do, it's not like work. I mean, it's work, but it's not like work. The end result comes out good because you love it. Like this show, for example, I was doing 5 shows. This is my favorite one to do. I've got my studio here. I've got my editing in my other office. I have a computer here and this one for Skype. And then I'll go and I'll put this together and I'll look at it and I'll put all the inserts and it's like a masterpiece. And I think, oh, wow, I love that. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's what's important because, you know, the old mantra is true that if you love what you do, you never really work a day in your life. I mean, that's
so true.
You know, people think all the time, they think, oh, well, you got to go to Chile. That's so exciting. You know, you get to travel for a living. People have no idea physically how much it took for me to get just from Lexington, Kentucky to Chile in South America to make and honor my commitment, to keep my word.
Right.
It took me, I was in the airport at least 30 hours. I was more in the airport in 4 days than I was in the country of Chile.
That would kill me. Just doing that, it's so hard. To go to LAX, you're familiar with LAX here in LA?
Oh, yeah.
I'm only 17 miles from there, but it can sometimes take me 2.5 hours to get there. The traffic is so bad. My girl says, will you pick me up? I'm coming in LAX like at 6 o'clock at night. I said, no, take Uber. It's just too hard. So if anybody wants to reach you regarding wrestling, where's the best chance?
They can reach out. We have a website, alsnowsacademyuk.com.
Okay.
And then they can reach me on Facebook, and we also have a Facebook for the Academy, which is Al Snow's Academy on Facebook. I'm the real Al Snow on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. And I'm starting a new, which eventually I'll want to talk to you about and get you involved with. A supplement and clothing line called Extreme Fitness.
Awesome. So, you know what I like about you? The fact is that you're innovative, you're computer literate, you're staying ahead of the game by doing all the things you're doing, and as I am too, because most guys my age don't even know how to operate a computer or a cell phone. Yeah. But it's a must. All the social media that you do and I see your posts and my posts, you have to do it. You got to keep your face out there because it's not necessarily, I've always said, who you know, it's who knows you. And by putting yourself out there, people know you and they'll come to you.
Yeah.
And you're an easy guy to deal with and people like you. And so when you put this stuff out, and I'll just throw everybody your way I can, you know I will. You send me a shirt, I wear it.
Sure.
It's just, this is how it works. It just works best.
I gotta send you a new design too. I know you'll love the new design. It's
for
the Academy. It's awesome. So
baseball caps too?
Yeah, I'll send you a baseball cap too.
Cover his head. I won't get pneumonia again.
You won't get pneumonia,
yeah. I don't know if there's anything I want to add. I think we covered everything, but we'll do another show.
Sure.
And you don't have any academies in the U.S. Why is that?
Just at this time, you
won't have to travel.
Yeah, true. The most important thing for me, as far as the academies are concerned, is the right trainers.
Yes.
Because, and I try to explain this to everybody. When I know it was like this when you broke in.
Yeah.
And I know, and it was like this for me. Was when it was. I tell people all the time, it was easier, and they think I'm joking, but it was easier to become a made man in the mafia than it was to become a wrestler in professional wrestling, because it was that close-knit and that closed a business. And the biggest reason was because if, say for instance, you trained a person, you were now personally held accountable for everything they did in professional wrestling.
Yes.
Which put at risk the one way you made a living. Yeah. And very few guys were willing to take that risk on just any person that walked in the door. They wouldn't do it. And it took a lot. So I still approach training wrestlers the same way. I feel that whoever I train, I'm personally held responsible. They carry my reputation. Yeah.
The funny thing was, when I started, was in 1965. I still have the original receipts from my wrestling training. It was $25 a class. Johnny Mae Young, as he trained me up in the Olympic Auditorium. She had a couple of people that never made it, but she took a big interest in me. She was like my second mom, and I really loved her. And I went 5 days a week from Bakersfield to LA. It was 2 hours each way driving. And I put my time in, 2 or 3 hours in the ring, and it was hard. But because she was at the Olympic Auditorium, and the booking office was right across the hallway with Mr. Moto and Joel Strongbow and all these guys, they came in and took a look at me. She said, I want you to see Rick. He's ready. He's been training 6 months. I've taught him every style possible. Okay, we'll put you on Channel 5 Wednesday night, and then we'll put you on Channel 34, and then it went from there, and then pretty soon I was in. And then when I, wanted to go somewhere else, she made a call to like Don Owens in Oregon, or I met Vern Gagne out here at a club because he was related to a friend of mine. He says, come meet Vern. So I met him, and he said, oh my God, I'd love to have you come back and work for me. I said, okay. But that's how it happened.
That's how it used to happen, and the reason that you got in was because Mae took an interest in you.
That's exactly why.
She recommended you, and everyone respected Mae's opinion.
That's right.
And she would never have recommended you if she felt that in any way, in shape or form, you would have threatened her reputation.
That's exactly right. I ran into her years later, like 20 years later, up in the Bay Area for Woody Farmer. He was running a small show, and she was working with him, and she was part of the booker. So they flew me up there, and then she came in as my manager, and we went to breakfast and hung out, and it was so much fun just getting back in time after all those years, And she looked great. Of course, I looked exactly the same because I don't age. I'm
telling you, I hope at 73 or 74, I pray to God I look as good as you, man.
It's in the head. It's in the head. You know what it is to carry your head around.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do.
Real quick, how'd that come about with the mannequin?
I was kind of frustrated with my career where it was at. Mm-hmm. I had been in WWF. I basically tried to quit, and they rolled over my contract to keep me. Yeah. To teach me a lesson, I guess. And I got put on loan to ECW. I knew I had to get myself back over.
Right.
And kept trying to think of ways to show that I basically had a nervous breakdown. And tried all kinds of different things, never worked, nothing connected. And then I found quite honestly, the first thing I found was a styrofoam head. And I thought, I'm going to just carry this to the ring and treat it as if it's real, like it's alive, and talk to it. And it just, the one thing I can't thank Paul Heyman enough for is that he allowed me to be me and just to do it. And even though he didn't like it, he didn't get it, he did not understand it at first. He used to come in all the time and go, I hate your manager. This makes no sense to me. And then all of a sudden, it clicked for him. And he was like, that was it. Once he understood it and he got behind it, and he could see the crowd was getting with it. And then that's all it took. But he gave me the freedom to go out and make mistakes and to just experiment and to try things.
It's the same way in acting. I've done a lot of movies. I had one director use me in 12 films. He let me play an Arab general. He let me play this, let me play that. And I took advantage of it because I wanted to step outside the box and be something different. And that's what acting is about too. You got to let it go and be somewhere. Show them something they haven't seen. Auditions. Show them something they haven't seen, and people will listen at the door. Oh, he said it that way. I'll say it that way too. You know. But you don't want to do that. You want to do just the opposite. And
you want to be your own thing.
You want to do your own thing, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and you have to believe. You know, you have. That's the key. Is you have. It has to be. It has to be your voice. Yes. Like I just recently put up a post trying to explain to a lot of young wrestlers that they're not actors. They try to liken themselves to an actor, and I'm like, an actor plays a character. A wrestler, it is who they are, just with the volume of that particular aspect turned way up, and that's what makes an audience believe, is because the wrestler themselves believe it. And if not, the audience won't. You know, and it's similar to being an actor, and I do understand that, but a wrestler has to be so entrenched in it that when the bell rings, he's still that character that he sold the audience backstage, down the ramp, into the ring, while he's kicking ass, while he's getting his ass kicked. He's got to be that guy all the way through. And you know, the prime example of that's Steve Austin. You know, he was. You know, there was never a moment that you didn't understand that he was a beer drinking, ass kicking redneck. That was it.
You know him well, right?
Yeah,
he's a great guy. He came to see me in the hospital twice, and he came to my house to do a couple of shows, and he calls me, "Hey Rick, I'm just passing by. What's that routine on Monday? I forgot what we're working. What was the diet I was supposed to do?" Then he called me about a month ago. He says, "Let me ask you a question. When you guys were back in the day and you had great abs and small waist, did you guys drink beer or any alcohol?" I said, "Nope." He says, "You mean I have to give up those 6 packs a night?" I said, "Yeah." He's a great guy.
He is. He's a really good guy.
Good guy, and you know, for him to come over on a Saturday to the hospital and sit with me, and we did a little video about me getting well. He says, "Okay, give me the $20 now." Yeah, what a great guy. I really respect him. Well, thank you, Al. I appreciate you so much. And I'm going to put this up, and I'll reference your school and your academy all over the place. And if there's anything you want me to do for you, you know I'll do it.
Oh, I'll listen. I'll get with you when about the extreme fitness stuff.
Yes.
It'll be great. So yeah, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you guys for watching Rick's Corner. Say goodbye to Al Snow. He'll be back, and I'll see you all next time.
drasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.